Hi friends, thanks for joining us on part 2 of week 8's MOA's Mini Masters at Home program. For those who don't know me, my name is Miss Jordan and I am the Youth Education Coordinator at MOA. So thank you so much for joining us for our art project today. We're going to be keeping up with our theme of flowers. If you have not seen the part 1 video, it is on our website, wisconsinart.org, in which we had an art discussion and read the story Flowey. So before we start with our step-by-step directions, let's look at our PDF so we know what supplies to grab. As you can see, here is our PDF for all of the supplies needed for today's project. Today we're going to be making flower friends. So we need some coffee filters, we need washable markers, spray bottle. If you don't have a spray bottle, we're going to be getting our coffee filters wet, so you can always drizzle some water over it instead. We'll need paper, scissors, pipe cleaners, and then we have some optional items as well. A printer. On the second page when we scroll down, you will see that I have a stencil that you can print off if you'd like to. Googly eyes or hot glue or even liquid glue would work as well as optional items. So as I said, if we scroll down on our page, you will see that I included a giant flower stencil that you can use to print off and cut out to trace. So let's go on to our step-by-step photos and create our flower friends. Okay, so let's go through and make our flower friends step by step. So our first thing we want to do is we want to take our coffee filter and we want to color it. You can color it in any color, any pattern, any design. I kept my colors kind of similar, so when they bleed together, it looks a little bit more tie-dye-like, but you guys can choose whatever colors you want. Make sure you have washable markers because you want them to bleed together. Also, I would strongly encourage you guys to use a paper plate to put under it just so it doesn't soak through onto your table. So I went ahead and I colored my coffee filter in this crazy pattern. As you can tell, it's not perfect. There's white gaps and that is totally fine. Once you're done, you're going to take your spray bottle and you're going to spray and get your coffee filter nice and wet. You don't want it drenched because it'll take a really long time for it to dry, but you do want your colors to bleed together. So it will look pretty wet. Again, make sure it's on something because otherwise it will get all over your table. I would suggest setting it aside and maybe putting it in a sunny spot while we do the rest of our project, and you can come back to your coffee filter once it's dry. So we're going to go on to our next part, and we're going to take a stencil that I have supplied with you guys, and we're going to cut it out. So we cut out our stencil, and now we are going to lay it on top of a sheet of cardstock. I chose red just because I went with the colors of my coffee filter. You don't need to use cardstock. I would encourage something a little bit thicker just to give our flower friend a little bit of sturdiness. So once we have our paper picked out, we're going to trace our stencil so we can cut out a flower out of that as well. So we have our red flower now. Then once our coffee filter is dry, as you can tell, it is a little bit faded in color. And that's kind of how you'll be able to tell. This one here is still a little bit wet, and you can see it's a little bit flimsier to work with. Also, something super fun is that it turns your paper plate into this crazy fun design. If anyone comes up with a fun idea to use these, let me know. I have a bunch of them, but that's something fun on a separate note. So once we have our dry coffee filter, we're going to take our flower stencil and trace that out as well. And then we're going to cut it out. Again, it's really important that we have a dry coffee filter. Wet coffee filters are really hard to cut. They often tear, and I don't want you to tear your pretty piece of paper. So once we have both our cardstock cut out and our coffee filter cut out, we are going to take a piece of paper. I just used a small piece of scrap paper, and we're going to cut it into a circle. So I just drew a circle. As you can tell, it's not perfect, it's totally freehand, and I just cut it out so we have a small circle. This will be the center of our flower. So we now have all of the supplies needed to create our flower friend. We have our sturdy piece of paper, we have our coffee filter, we have our flower center, and we have 2 pipe cleaners. We're going to start with our pipe cleaners. So the reason why we have 2 is just so it can be a little bit sturdier and thicker. So we are going to take them and we are going to twist them together. So just take them and then twist around, okay? Because you want to make kind of one thick one. Leave a little bit of room on top so it looks a little bit like a Y. We'll be using that to attach to our flower front. So you don't want to do the whole thing twisted. We're going to take our red flower or our thicker piece of paper. We're just going to puncture a little hole into it. You can use scissors to do this. You can use a pencil. Just be careful you don't poke or stab yourself when you do that. Okay, so then we're going to take our pipe cleaner. As you can see, we have our Y. We are going to kind of pinch it together, and we're going to be able to put it through our flower hole. So right through like that. So then we will have our flower ready for the next step. We're going to then punch a hole into our coffee filter, just like we did for the red flower. And then we're going to slide that on as well. So make sure you are carefully working your way through that coffee filter. I know coffee filters can be really delicate. So once that is done, you are good to go. And then you will repeat the final step with your small little circle. So you're going to take your circle, punch a hole in it. Again, be careful while you do that. And we're going to slide that onto the top of our flower. Once we have that all ready, we're going to bend down that Y to secure it to make sure it doesn't slide off of our flower. Some extra things we can do at this point. You can glue, use liquid glue to glue some of your layers together if you don't want them tossing and turning on you. You can glue your what looks like a smile to your center if you also don't want that to move, or reinforce the pipe cleaner on the back. This is another optional thing. I'm going to go ahead and make a face on my flower so it is truly a flower friend. I'm going to use googly eyes. If you don't have googly eyes, you can draw your own face. You don't need to make a face at all. It's totally up to you. So mine turned out like this. So I used googly eyes, so I have a smiling friend. I also just reinforced with some glue on the back because I didn't want him flapping all over the place. So there you go. We have our flower friends. It's super fun. You can totally mix it up. You can make more than one. You can double up the layers of coffee filters. And so you can have a lot of fun with this project. Okay, so I just wanted to show you up close what our flower friend looks like. It's very happy. I love this project because you can make a variety of different flowers. You can layer up on coffee filters. You can put a bunch of them in vases around your home. It's really fun. So please let me know what you guys end up creating. I love hearing from you. On that PDF is my email address. Feel free to send me questions, send me photos of your finished product. I know you guys are always super creative, and I love to see what you come up with from our projects. So thank you again for joining us for another week of MOA's Mini Masters at Home program. I hope you guys are all staying strong during this time, and I appreciate you guys joining us on this virtual journey. In the meantime, on our website, wisconsinart.org, we do have other fun activities for families, so make sure you guys are checking that out. In the meantime, happy creating!